Okay, guys, I'm gonna finally come clean.
Hmm.
I have not been doing on this channel what you guys thought I was doing. I know I've been parading as many may say, oh, he's a dating coach, or parading as somebody who helps men with their relationships primarily. And while that is true,
Hmm.
fundamentally what has been happening behind the scenes is not what you think. So many men come to me, they think the problem is, hey, I want to get better with women, or hey, I want to find alignment in my life, or hey, I want to have self-discipline, mastery to where everything feels easy for me and I do exactly what I know I need to do so I can be the man that I know I need to be.
Right.
And many of the online methods, or just, methods in general, use your range in therapy, psychology, studying a little neuroscience there, a little evolutionary biology there, maybe going over into metaphysical dimensions. Oh, well, the law of attraction. And so all these different, what I call methods, exist to do one thing, to get a man or woman, but we're focusing on men here, to do with their hands what they have in their head and their hearts.
Mm.
To do with their hands what they have in their head and their hearts. So they have a vision in their head. They have a feeling in their heart. But when it comes time to do it with their hands, it's procrastination, overthinking, right? It's hesitation. And they can't quite figure out, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And so, one, I relate to that very deeply, right? When I was 21, I'd say give her 21, about 18 to 21, I was on a desperate pathway to figure out at that time that I thought how to get better with women,
Hmm.
right? At the time, I was deathly terrified to approach women. I was fearful of getting rejected. I was fearful of finding out that, hey, maybe I'm not um, who I think I am. And most importantly, funnily enough, my biggest uh, barrier at the time, I'll just call it barrier for now, was actually letting down the woman, because I would believe that the expectation would be, oh, whatever this is going to be, this experience is going to be in out of this world. And the fear of living up to that, while I wasn't conscious of it back then, was so, what if I don't live up to the expectation
Yeah.
that these people have of me? So I just self-sabotage to make sure that that wouldn't happen. And
Hmm.
so girl after girl, situation after situation would just self-sabotage
Hmm.
before anything could really escalate.
Yeah.
And so I noticed myself doing that for quite some time, until the point where I said, okay, this needs to change. And so from 18 till about 23, voraciously going about understanding the first principle of mathematics of sexual attraction.
Hmm.
And so over those years, put myself in situations, embarrass myself in ways I won't say on this camera, maybe in the private groups,
Right.
right? And just really collected a lot of data. I think that's the difference here. I approach it very scientifically. And I'm like, nothing repeats with precision and predictability if it's random.
Right.
So I knew that it couldn't be random. It's just misunderstood in the same way back in the day the weather was perceived as random.
Right.
And you just had a feeling and it's just going with the flow of the weather. And now we can predict the weather 7 days out, 9 days out, 12 days out. And that's just normal for us. We go, oh, just on the phone, check the weather. I said, what's the weather going to be 4 days into the future? I'm like, how can we predict 4 days into the future?
Right.
And so at a certain point, humanity said, we're going to master the weather. We're going to be able to understand the pressure, the law. What's the mathematics of weather? What's the physics, the science of weather? And so similarly, I was on a trajectory to understand what's the science, the mathematics of attraction.
Yeah.
And so in doing so, documenting that, I started to help other men do so. However, there was a critical point where all that fell apart and where I got exposed to myself. So it was about 2020. And at the time, the year prior, because I was in the suiting business, had all these big dreams. And I was like, okay, when I have the time or when I have the money, that's when things are going to shift.
Yeah.
COVID came around and it was March. everything has just started to shut down, for not foreclosure, for when they put furlough, whatever that was called when you would, the word is slipping me, when employees were, but they were, I think, furloughed, I believe the word is. But around that time, I'm thinking, okay, Vidal's about to go in. He has the time. They were giving money away, literally. So it's like, I had some extra money, and Amazon Prime was going crazy. So you could have a horse delivered to your house at that point, right? And so I'm like, okay, he has everything he needs, right? And so you already know, guys, I went in and did nothing, right? Right? The truth was, for 2 weeks, just wasted my complete time.
Yeah.
I sat around, watched anime, and at the time, the girl I was with, we had gone on a break a little before my birthday, because my birthday was in late February. And I just went on that break right before COVID. So it was like just this isolated state. And I was with myself, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. It's funny looking back now how the worst things at the time seem like it's, this is. And so because of that break, I was thinking, maybe date other women during this time, and da-da-da-da, now that I'm free, and blah, 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 right? And throughout those 2 weeks, no progress. And I almost couldn't believe it, right? I remember waking up on about the 14th day, and I was disgusted with myself. And I got up that morning after like a 4 a.m. up at night thing, and I walked in the bathroom stumblingly, and I managed to muster the courage to look myself in the eyes. Nobody was around, so I couldn't blame anyone else for how I was behaving. Again, my hands weren't matching my heart and my head, right? Couldn't blame anybody else. And at that point, I went, you're full of shit, Vidal. I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you're full of shit. All this talk about it's going to change and it's going to tomorrow and blah, 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 when I had this and all these limitations that you claimed existed, we now realize that wasn't what it was actually about.
Right.
And so I remember in that moment feeling a deep, deep pain in my chest, a disgust, and confusion. Where do I go from here? I remember looking myself in the mirror, self-respect completely shattered. And I asked one question that changed the rest of my life. And I asked myself, what would a man need to do and how would he need to live to get up every single morning and look himself in the mirror and be proud of, yes, I'm this guy. Mm-hmm. I was born this guy. And that question sent me down a pathway that took me somewhere I never thought I'd ended up. Right. Fortunately, at the time, I had a group of men that were about 2,500 deep. And so because I went to school for the mental arts, the psychologies, the whatever, graduated with a bachelor's in that, and realized after working in a residential mental health facility with boys, I was like, this isn't the fastest way to change human behavior based on what I was seeing the therapists do. And not to say that it doesn't have value, but I was interested in speed and permanence. Is there a way to change the most entrenched traumas, fears in minutes, right? Is that possible? And I wouldn't even said that was on my mind at the time, but looking at the technology we've managed to produce now, where those are the results that are being gotten, I think at the time it was more of, I want to understand the first principle of it, and then in finding the first principle of it is finding that, this can be done way faster.
Right.
And so I recognized that, what is the core problem here? And I realized that my identity, who I thought I was and who I was being was not the same. And so I'm like, well, who am I? And how do I permanently become the person I want to be? Right. With no relapse, no burnout, no force, no discipline. Because when we are doing something that is natural, discipline is not required. So how can I make the version of myself I want to be feel natural? No discipline, no procrastination, no force. I just effortlessly do the thing I know I'm supposed to do with full confidence, conviction, and knowing. And so again, my 25-year-old version wasn't thinking that. But he, on that day, embarked on a journey to find out. And years later, thousands of conversations later, thousands of data taken, and hundreds of men, and all the things 5 years later, gotten to the point where certain technologies are available that can remove permanently traumas, bad habits, and stress from a person's nervous system in under 20 minutes. Right? And we've proven and tested and recorded these over years. I'd say probably the last year or so, really been dialing in on that. So the truth is, the real reason I was quote unquote procrastinating, struggled with discipline, always had to have a David Goggins video in the background. Hey, you could do it, man. Stay hard. The real reason I always needed the external reminder of what I needed to do, even though I claim I want it, it's in my head, it's in my heart. Why are my hands so inconsistent? Why are my hands scrolling away? Why are my hands on a site it shouldn't be on? Why are my hands, doing everything but the work that would move me forward and align me? Right? And it dawned on me that the most fundamental problem most guys are having with women, most guys are having with money, most guys are having with whatever the thing may be, is their hands don't do what's in their head. Their hands don't do what's in their head. Their skeleton is out of control. And I know that because I was that. And until I got access to this technology, right, what we call identity engineering, it felt like I always had to depend on discipline. It's always, getting the next productivity system or the affirmation, or you got to. But when this technology got revealed to me, I realized that's not even the core reason those things exist. Those are symptomatic. And once you get to the core cause, discipline no longer is required. So I live a discipline-free life. Not because, and there are times where I have to go and be intentional. Okay, am I drifting? But it's not effortful, forceful. Man, I got to do this. I'm going to sit down and get the work done. No, when you have this technology, when you understand what you're about to get access to, right? None of those things exist. It's just flow. It's just easy. You just do what you know you're supposed to do to get to the next level. Bad habits gone. Right? And so when I realized, identity is the problem, I realized identity engineering is the most fundamental thing everybody's seeking. But they think it's in an affirmation. They think it's in the manifestation. They think it is in the discipline video. They think it is in the motivational book of self-help. Those all have their value, but they will never last if the core reason the behavior is happening, which is coded within your nervous system, that was encoded throughout your lifetime, right? What are called identity scripts were encoded in you that are literally like a puppet master saying you will never get to the next level. You will never get there. I will never allow it. But here's the thing. It's not because it's trying to harm you, but it's because it's trying to protect you. And until I realized what I was protecting myself from, why I kept going in that cycle of not doing with my hands what my mouth was saying, is when I realized, that's what my nervous system was protecting me from. Boom. And once that was released, once that was removed and recoded, discipline was no longer necessary, because discipline is only necessary when there's friction. And there's only friction when you're doing something that you don't want to do. So the question is, why don't you want to go to the next level? It doesn't make sense logically. And that's when identity engineering comes into place, to bring logic, structure, mathematics, predictability to transformation. Permanent transformation. That's the key thing. Permanent.
Yeah.
The biggest issue I had was they never lasted. Permanent. Never returning. Done. Finito. Habit gone. Never to return unless you choose it. Transformation.
Right.
That's the next phase of humanity. And so a guy struggling with women, oh man, I know all the information. I have all the knowledge. I've read the book. I've listened to the video. Da, da, da. Why is it that when I need to go talk to the girl, the beautiful girl, da, 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 I can't get myself to do it? I go in the room. I do all the things I do after work every day. And then as I'm going to bed, scrolling on my phone, even though I know I shouldn't be, even though I know I just wasted the bulk of the day, not once again doing with my hands what's in my head. I'm scrolling here sometimes, in a position where you just did something you're not proud of that you promised you would stop. Whether it be eating, the corn, whatever. Right? These are real conversations. And having the same thought you have every night. This needs to change.
Yeah.
This needs to change. This needs to change. And over time, I tried changing it before. I tried the book. I tried the self-development. I tried the motivational video. I tried the hustle and grind. So, at a certain point, that starts to erode against the self-respect, the self-trust. And then whenever we say something, there's this feeling in our body that goes, you're not going to follow through. It's not going to last. What's the point? And when that voice starts seeping in, that's a man that's dying, even though he's alive, even though he shows up to work, ties his tie. Everybody thinks he's okay. But when he's alone in that bedroom by himself, he knows, I hate my life. I hate my life. And so that is the real mission. That is the real underlying thing this business channel movement has always been about, is to help just go from forcing everything, forcing every success, to flowing into success. You're doing the same action with no resistance, no friction. It's effortless. It's exactly what you want to do. And so if that's something you're interested in learning more about, mind you, for you who are listening to this video, remember this. I'm about to share something with you that's free, that can help you. But do understand, the number one principle on this channel is sovereignty. You don't have to do anything I say. You can stay exactly where you are, no judgment. There is no pressure. There is no, oh, you need to do this or you're a bad person. You can literally just keep your life the way you want it and stay there for as long as you need to be until you feel ready. So I want you to know that. However, for those, and there are going to be a few who are like, I want to know how to fix this permanently, quickly, now, then I've opened up a free school community. And so I'm going to leave 2 links down below. There's a free in-depth diagnostic that privately, well, I'll put it like this. There's a free diagnostic that's going to be in the link down below. And in that free diagnostic, it will tell you exactly what was called your protection style is. So if you've heard of attachment styles, how people go about attaching in a relationship, there's a higher level beyond that called your protection style, or also sometimes refer to it as your self-sabotage style. It is a specific way that you self-sabotage whenever you're about to get to the next level. It's the specific way that you self-sabotage, the pattern, why you do it, when it gets triggered. And that'll all be free from a 5 to 7 minute diagnostic down below, multiple choice. And you're going to get emailed a fully in-depth diagnostic, absolutely free. So you can get an exact mapping of what your nervous system is doing so you can change it. An exact mapping of your nervous system so you can change it. But again, remember, you can still just click off this video and do nothing.
Yeah.
All I am offering is an alternative to the reality that you're currently in. I've learned a long time ago that people don't change unless they want to. And so I'm no longer in the business of trying to get somebody to want something better for themselves than they wanting something better for someone than they want for themselves. Right, as cold as it may seem, I'm okay with you have every right to suffer. Right, you're so sovereign, you're allowed to suffer if you choose to. But if you'd like to end that suffering, start with the diagnostic, tap into the free school community where we're going to be surrounded by other, it's going to be called Identity Labs, by the way, where the entire ecosystem is focused upon permanently and quickly learning how to re-engineer your nervous system so that you never need discipline again. So you never need discipline again. And so within there's a free training, mini training, that breaks down exactly why it's so hard, why it feels like there's an invisible force blocking your hand, why no matter how many times at night you say, I'm going to change, nothing happens. So if you want to know what's really going on, it's all free and available for you. If you don't want to know what's going on, then just forget you ever watched this video. But I wanted to invite those who do want to change, who are serious, who have had enough. And if that's you, click the link down below. Choose your pathway, diagnostic or getting straight to the information. Both are available. So that's all I have for you guys today. It's something that's a benefit to you. Now, as far as where the channel is going, I'll be more open about the fact that identity is the issue. I'm still going to be talking about dating, relationships and whatnot, but I'll be talking about the true cause of the problem. I won't leave that out anymore. I think we're at a point where the audience is educated enough to be able to handle the conversation and understand that it is not simply, oh, well, women are this and women are that and blah, 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 blah. Or men are this, men are that, blah, 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 blah. And it's just blaming external circumstances and saying I have absolutely nothing to do with my results. My hands didn't touch anything having to do with the outcome I just got. Right? And so to say you had nothing to do with the ripples in the water would be to say you don't exist. The water is rippling out of nowhere after being completely still. And he's like, oh, nothing hit it. There was no rock that fell in it. I had nothing to do with it. Right? So when the ripple effect of the results in our lives come back to us, we have to always understand that we had something to do with it, even if it's small. But until we realize what we had to do with it that's creating the situation we're in right now, we'll never, ever, ever be free. So do what you want to do. And for those who align with what they just heard, looking forward to talking to you in the group. All right, y'all. Peace.